Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to start by showing you guys the very simple beginning stitch called the slip stitch. You'll need to know this for most of the things you're going to be working on. And I'm going to start by deciding which crochet hook to use. For beginners, I would recommend the bigger crochet hooks just because they have more to grab onto and it just makes it easier for seeing what you're doing. So this one, let's see if I can get it in view here. So this one, so this one's a 6.50 millimeter. It's a pretty decent size. Like I said, it has a lot more to grab onto, and it's going to be easier to use and maneuver with. But again, it doesn't matter which one you use, honestly. It's whatever feels more comfortable. That's the key with crocheting. It's picking a crochet hook, and it's picking like wherever you're doing it. If you want to do crochet from the couch, do that. If you want to crochet for your bed, do that. Crochet from a chair, whatever is most comfort. Comfort is key because when you're comfortable, you'll enjoy doing it more. So now that I've decided on my crochet hook, I'm also going to choose my yarn color. I'm going to go with a nice bright colored pink for today, just because it's easier to see. And let me just find the end of it here. I use a lot of Craft Smart yarn. It's a cheaper option, and it comes in a fairly decent array of colors. Alright, so to start off, you want to make sure you found the end of your yarn. And now, unfortunately, because I'm right-handed, all of my crocheting videos are going to be for right-handed crocheters, which makes me feel bad for people who are left-handed, because it's kind of hard to reverse the techniques for a left-handed person. I have tried. I'm gonna try practicing to crochet with my left hand just because I want to be able to make videos that for everyone to learn. So I'll do my best to show you that, but hopefully there are other videos out there with left-handed crocheters who can hopefully show you how to do it better than I can. But today, as it stands, I'm just going to be doing right-handed crocheting. So for starting off, you want to make sure the end of the yarn is in your right hand and the bulk of the yarn that's attached to your yarn ball is in your left. So this is how we're going to start. Now for the slip stitch, it's fairly simple. I'll actually lay it down here to make it easier. So you want to grab the yarn that's in your left hand and you just want to lift it up and over. That wasn't shown very well. Let's try that again. So you want to lift it up and over the yarn that's in your right hand to form a loop. This is your starting loop here. I tend to like to grab it just from the middle here just to make sure it stays one overlapping the other. Okay, the next step is you're going to take your crochet hook and you're just going to stick it right through the top of that loop. Okay, so now you have your hook in your loop, and then I'm just going to grab that with my pinky and my ring finger there. Okay, and then you take your hook and you're grabbing the yarn from your left hand and you're just pulling it right back out through that loop. Okay, so now you're left with this big looking mess here, but as you pull it tighter with your left hand and your hook, it forms a loop. And you can tighten it to however tight you want it to be. And this is something important because you don't want to make it too tight that you can't make other stitches into the hoop. You just want it just loose enough that you can still pull your hook through for the next stitches. And this is what it looks like. This is your slip stitch. This is the stitch you'll be using most commonly for making things that work in rows. So things like scarves, things like blankets, things like washcloths, anything that works in rows. This is the stitch you're most likely going to start off with. Alright, so following the slip stitch, I'm going to show you how to make a chain. And this is very relatively simple, although I'm probably going to say that a lot because I've done this for a while. But it's really not that difficult. So you start with your slip stitch and your crochet hook is still in the stitch. And all you do is you take the yarn in your left hand and you wrap it up and over your crochet hook. This is called yarning over. This is something you're going to do a lot. So remember, and you're coming up from below and you're wrapping it around the back and then you're grabbing it with your hook. And then all you do is you pull that through your slip stitch, and that makes your first chain. And for the rest of it, you're literally just doing the exact same thing over and over again. So you're yarning over, grabbing the yarn with your crochet hook, and then just pulling it through the chain that's already on your hook. And then you just do it again. You yarn over and you pull it through. Yarn over and you pull it through. Whoop, there we go. And you just keep doing that again and again until you have however long of chain that you want. And as you can kind of see here, each chain kind of forms a V. This will be very important for when you learn the next stitch, which is the single crochet stitch, because you're going to be working into these V's here. So I'm just going to make a nice long chain to work with here. It's very weird to watch myself crochet through a camera. So it's like it's slightly delayed as I do this. It's very weird. Here we go. Like I said, you can make it however long you want. It all depends on what you're making. I think one of the first things I made was a scarf, so you just keep going until you have a nice long chain for that. And it allows you to make a longer scarf. So I think this will be okay for now. We don't need it to be too long. So now you have this nice chain, and we're going to be working back along it for this next stitch. So let me just grab a bit more yarn here to work with. Okay, so you want your chain to be held in your left hand, and I tend to like to hold the rest of the yarn that's attached to the yarn ball with my left hand as well. So you kind of, again, this is something that you have to find a comfortable way to do it. It's not going to be the same for everyone. So you can see as I'm holding my crochet hook, I kind of hold it like you hold a pencil or a pen. But this may not be comfortable for you. You got to experiment. You got to find something that you know you're going to be able to hold it like that for a long time without your hand getting sore. So it's all about experimentation. And like I said, this is comfortable for me to hold the chains as well as the rest of the yarn in my left hand while I'm doing this, because it allows it to be for me to make relatively taut stitches so they're not too loose and become uneven. Okay, so we're going to show you the single crochet stitch. This is a very basic stitch that for each stitch that comes after it, it's basically a modification of the single crochet stitch. So this is the basic building block for most of what you'll be doing. So for single crochet stitch, so as I said before, as you can see, the chains kind of, if I can get into focus here, kind of look like V's. Each one has its own V-shaped pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your hook and you're going to stick it through that very first V. As you can see, because you see this is your slip stitch here and there's a little knot at the end. Your first one always comes after that knot. So it's like you're skipping that first one that's a hook to your slip stitch and you're going into the next one. So you just stick your crochet hook through that V. You grab the yarn from the other side that's also sitting in my left hand there. So you're grabbing that yarn and you're pulling it back through that V. And so at this point you have 2 loops on your crochet hook. Okay, so you've got it's like a bunny. You got bunny ears. And for the next step, you're taking that yarn that's in your left hand there. You're yarning over your crochet hook and you're pulling it through those 2 loops. And that is your first single crochet stitch. And so the next one is going to go into the next V here. So you just stick it through that V, you grab the yarn, and you pull it back through so that you have 2 loops on your hook. And then you take your yarn again, you yarn over your crochet hook, and you pull it through both loops. See, now you see that we've got something going here. So now you have the first 2 single crochet stitches on here. And again, you just keep going into each one. You can kind of tell which the next V is going to be because the stitch you made before it, I don't know how well you can see it here. Let's see. There we go. But it's kind of got like a bit of the stitch going into the next chain. So you see that little bit there? So that's an indication as to which chain you're going into next. So again, you just stick your crochet hook into the chain, you grab the yarn, you pull it back through, then you wrap your yarn over your hook again and pull it through both of those loops. All right, I'm just going to finish this up so you can see what it looks like at the end. And there we have it, our first row of single crochet stitches. It's a little uneven just because I kind of rushed to get it done, but this is more or less what you want it to look like. And now, as you can see, because we were talking about how the chains kind of look like V's, when you look at it from the top view, now it looks like it has V's on top of it. And these will be important for the next stitch. But this should get you started. This is a stitch that you can use for most things. It's great for when you're making scarves, washcloths, anything where you have to work back and forth in rows. So I'll actually just show you here before we finish, because I showed you making the single crochet stitches on a chain, but now to go back and continue the rows going back and forth, what I like to do, something that a lot of patterns will tell you to do, is you'll take your yarn, you'll yarn over your hook, and then you'll pull it through the stitch that your crochet hook was in. You're just basically making an extra chain so that when you go back to work over what you've already did, it'll be more or less at the same level, so it won't dip down at the end. It just gives it a bit more height so that the rows are more even. And a lot of patterns will tell you to do this because it makes it look a lot better. Okay, so now that you've made that extra little chain, so you turned your work around, so now you're working along this way. So for this single crochet stitch, like I said, you can see there's kind of like a V shape on top of each stitch. What you're going to do with your crochet hook, you're going to turn it this way, and you're going to be going underneath that V, like right underneath it. So as you can kind of see, the V is on top of your crochet hook. You're just sticking it right through below, and then you're grabbing the yarn from the other side and you're pulling it back through. So just like before, now you have the 2 loops on your crochet hook. And then all you do is you take the yarn, you wrap it around your hook, and you pull it back through those 2 loops. And you just do the same thing all the way across. So you find that next V, you stick your crochet hook through the bottom of it, you grab the yarn, pull it back through, so you got the 2 loops on your crochet hook, then you wrap the yarn around your crochet hook and then pull it back through those 2 loops. And then you just do the same thing over and over again. If you can't really, because sometimes the way different people crochet, you can't always see the V's on top. If you ever have a problem with that, I mean, you're basically just whatever's on top, on the very top of that stitch, that's what you're going through, no matter what it looks like. You can kind of see as you pull it up there, like there's like a little hole just beneath the surface of the top of your stitch there. So that's where you want to be going through each time. And then you grab the yarn and pull it through, wrap your yarn around the crochet hook and pull it through the 2 loops. Yeah, and then you just do that over and over again until you get to the end of the row. And then again, you just do the same thing. You make an extra chain at the end to make sure that the row will be even and doesn't dip down at the end. And then you just keep going. You just keep making a single crochet stitch in each spot. And one of the things, because I will sometimes teach crochet classes outside, and one of the things I notice is that sometimes it's very easy to accidentally flip the project over, especially when you're just making your first row of single crochet stitches, and it's easy to accidentally have it flip over and you start making stitches on the other side. If you ever do make a mistake, it's very easy to fix it. You just take the yarn there and you just pull it, and it undoes however much you want to undo. And so then you can just go back over and do it again. It's very easy to fix mistakes with crocheting. just finish up this row here. And another thing that tends to happen a lot is when I'm making stitches, and this happens to me all the time too, is that sometimes, especially with thicker yarns, you'll sometimes accidentally poke your hook through the yarn itself. So it you see how it's kind of like frayed there? So sometimes it's very easy to accidentally poke it through. So you just kind of have to be mindful of that when you're first starting out, and just kind of look every now and again. Just you'd be able to tell with the stitch if you poked through the yarn itself, because all of a sudden it's like, huh, it looks a bit thinner in one spot than the other, or it looks kind of distorted. So again, you just pull that back out and then you just try it again. And there we go. Now we have 2 rows of a single crocheted stitch. And literally all you have to do is just keep going back and forth, however long you want to make it, and then you've already have your first completed project. It's a very simple stitch, but it's very effective. And honestly, even if you only know how to single crochet, you can still make a lot of things. But obviously we want to learn more. So for the next video, I'm going to be showing you some of the bigger stitches that are based on the single crochet stitch, and we'll just take it from there. Thank you for watching today, guys. As always, if you want to make any suggestions for things you like to see, any comments, and basically anything you want to say, just leave it in the comments of the YouTube video, or you can also visit my Facebook crochet page and message me, or again, just leave comments on my page. I'm always listening. I read everything that everyone writes. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!